Well, hello everybody. How the heck are you doing this fine day as we go live here in the middle of May? Steve Dotto here. How the heck you doing? Along with April. How you doing,
Okay.
April?
I'm great. How are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you as well. We are here for Gray Matters Live. Well, let me put up our nice key there. It's Gray Matters Live, Gray Matters Unscripted with me, Steve Dotto. We are got a good topic today. Kind of work. It's always a challenge figuring out exactly what the best topic is without being too current. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we want to make sure that we add value each and every week, right, April?
Yep, absolutely. That's the biggest
And
thing.
so this week, I think it's so. I've lost count of days, but I think I'm. How many days have you been in lockdown? Is it like we're over 60 now, right? We're 65, 70 days.
Definitely over 60. That
Yeah.
we hit for us. We hit 60 on. I guess it was May 13th, or excuse me, March 13th.
Yeah. So now here's the premise for today's live stream is I think that for the first month, maybe even 2 months, we were kind of in reaction mode. We were just trying to figure out how to survive and how like you were trying to figure out what to do with your kids. We were trying to figure out how to get food. You're trying to figure out, if you need to still have a car, all of these things. We were in reaction mode and we were reacting to things and we really didn't know what it was going to be like living in quarantine like this. But now we know. I mean, we've all lived in isolation for a period of time. We've all created this bubble around us. Those of you that still have to go to work, you've figured out ways to do it. We've figured it out. We figured out at least the reactionary mode. But now we've reached a point where I think we have a idea what it's going to look like in the future to a certain extent. Things are not going to go back to normal for the foreseeable future. We're not going to be going to a conference together and hanging out together in the foreseeable future. And even as restrictions ease in different regions, and we are getting to be able to go back out and do shopping a little bit more and maybe go to restaurants, maybe they're going to open movie theaters. We also recognize that in a heartbeat, that could be reversed if there's an outbreak in our area, that we could be pushed back, right? So, yeah, but absolutely. Now we know what to expect if we do go back into lockdown. So what are you laughing at? Are you rolling your eyes?
You're absolutely. What would you do differently? Was there anything you would do differently?
My whole thing is we're now starting to develop new habits because we're coping, and some of those habits are going to become entrenched. Now, so my question is, and I'm trying to put a positive spin on things, is which of the habits that you've developed are worth keeping? Do you want to keep, even if we go back into a far more open kind of, once things open up a lot more, which of the habits that you've developed here while we've been under lockdown are you interested in keeping? And I want to hear what habits our communities created. So this is going to be I'm going to be looking for lots of input from you guys in chat today as we go through this. And Tally's saying I've been stuck in Dubai since March 5th. Holy cow. And I wonder when international travel is going to open up. That's a great question. It's not a great situation. At least I hope you're doing pretty well. There we go. Cheryl is in Central Florida. Oh yeah. I was thinking of a different Cheryl. Sorry.
Yeah. Cheryl Neff. Yep.
I don't want to keep my new eating habits. I know what you mean. That's good.
I think that's actually been the hardest thing. There's this feeling of like boredom. Like, what do I do? I'm going to eat.
Ian might have explained the same. Just done the whole thing. Sweatpants. When was the last time you wore a pair of pants that didn't have an elastic waistband? That's my question. I don't know. I think you saw me last time. It was in social media marketing world. Was the last time I wore a pair of pants that required a belt.
Oh, that's funny. I definitely have. I've worn pants. Some days I've actually even felt like I got dressed up. Like I'd come out, everybody's still in their pajamas. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just need to feel normal."
You know what got me started on this kick of asking about habits was we did a live stream earlier this week for our Just Between You and Me, the live stream we do on Wednesdays. Mark Schaefer was a guest. And Mark told me that the sales of his book had plummeted last month, that they dried up completely. And I was gobstopped. I thought, that makes no sense to me, because as Tahir says, he's reading more than ever before. And I thought that would be the case. I thought everybody would be reading more and book sales would be like blossoming. But for some reason, people's habits changed and book sales slowed down. Now they're picking up again. But talking to another buddy of mine, Mike Vardy, I was talking about our podcast, and he says that his podcast downloads has dropped by 30% since the start.
Really?
Yes. And that makes you go, well, that makes no sense, does it? But people's habits are changing. So here's what we're going to do is I am going to put forward a couple of different habits that I want to hear how you folks are dealing with. We'll talk them through ourselves here, but I want to hear what's happening in your life. So let's start with that. Let's start with what's happening as far as your reading and podcast consumption. The things that I thought both of them would really benefit from the lockdown. I thought I would read more, and I thought I would listen to more podcasts. And so I'm wondering, what's your experience been, April?
So I would agree that was definitely what I thought, because I actually bought a bunch of books and they're still sitting on my nightstand and I have not read them. To be quite honest, like I thought, oh, I'm going to have time to read. I don't have basketball games and I don't have all this crazy mom kid stuff after school or on the weekends. And that's not been the case. Not at all, unfortunately.
And I haven't read any more either. I've read less, and I would have thought that I would listen to more podcasts, but here's what happens. My podcast listening time has been when I go on my walks with Farley, which I would always listen to podcasts. I would often listen to podcasts. But I've stopped listening to them on the walks. Ask me why. Go ahead, ask me.
Why?
Because Shannon goes on the walks with me now.
Oh, okay.
We don't think of these things. It's the little things that change our habits, and it changes our media consumption. The other reason, far bigger than my subtle little reason, is people aren't commuting, so they aren't listening to the podcasts in their commute.
Oh, right. Because actually that's so true, because I would listen to stuff in my car. Like if I was going to a meeting or if I was out, I actually listened more in my car.
So Sherry says that she's a professor, but she's increased her reading and podcast consumption by 25%. That's what I would have thought. Ian says, I'm a big reader, but for the first month, I couldn't concentrate on a page, but now I'm settling back. That was the other thing. Do you think that the sense of disquiet as we came to terms with what was happening caused us, because it's, reading's a pastoral thing. You have to be relaxed to read. When you're on edge, when you're anxious, you can't read, or I can't, and I can't concentrate on a podcast. So my consumption of 24/7 news increased for sure.
And so, I think that you're right. You know, the first month, I feel like the anxiety was overwhelming, and that feeling of that grief feeling was definitely, I feel like, more prevalent, not only for me, for other people that I talked to, and that. Absolutely. I definitely have turned off the news more recently. I listen to less news.
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to media consumption in a minute. Nathan says, my audiobook consumption went up because of yard work. My Dead Tree paper book usage has gone down. So he's been staying active around the house. It's great that you're in a property that you can do that. That's awesome. And Faith said, this is exactly what we said. Having a hard time concentrating on reading, not as many podcasts as usual, which is very sad. Yeah, and I do sense that I'm wondering if I'm a little bit disappointed in myself that I haven't taken more advantage of this apparent gift of time, because I've felt less like, so I do feel a little bit of sense of guilt over it, that I feel I should be doing more. And I'm happy to hear, although it doesn't make me feel less guilty, but I'm glad to hear some of you have taken advantage of it, and it just actually makes me feel even worse, perfectly honest. So, rereading many previous books, like The Miracle Morning. Yeah. And you know something? I think that there's something to, it's easier to reread content that you know and I know this is going to sound a little bit strange, but when we are in a sense of disquiet, if you reread something as opposed to invest in something new, rereading something old, there's a sense of comfort to it because you know it's kind of coming up. Watching TV, I've watched old movies again rather than watching new ones, and it took me a lot to invest in watching new stuff, and I'll talk about that again a little bit more as we go along. Let's look at this. Reading, Thomas says reading is up with 300%. You, Thomas, you.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he said something else. Only listening to podcasts now when traveling. So nothing now. So he stopped listening to podcasts, but he is reading. That's great. I love this feedback. Isn't this great? I was hoping, I wasn't too sure how well the live stream would work, really engaging as much chat as we're trying to do, but it's going pretty well so far. All right, let's go on to the second habit that I wanted to query you about. And the second habit is related. It's in media consumption. But what about TV and video watching? How much are you watching TV and video? What's happening there? What's happening with you, April?
So I, like you, have rewatched a lot of old movies. I also started the Breaking Bad series again. Binge watched that. I think I watched a lot more television earlier on. Now that it's getting a little bit nicer, I'm watching less. But I feel like, we've watched a lot more video in our house. And the one thing I will say is that I realized how much money I was overspending on cable and got rid of cable and went to YouTube TV through this project.
Really?
Video.
That's interesting. Well, my own video consumption, I'll talk about that in a minute. I'll talk about from a professional basis of what we are getting as far as our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel growth has exploded through the COVID. It settled down a bit, but for the first month, we had our first million view month where we had 1 million videos viewed in a 30-day period. We never had that before at Dottotech, averaging like between 350 and 600,000 views a month. So 1 million was almost double what our average was, or more than double what our average was. And we settled down a little bit, but we're still tracking for like 800 to 900,000 views this month. So so I know people are watching more video. Now, it could be topic related, but I think people are watching more YouTube video. Now, as far as personal, like entertainment consumption of video and TV, I still watch the same YouTube subscriptions that I've always watched.
Yep.
But we've been doing the COVID thing of binge watching series, but I found it an effort. Are we on our second series that we're watching? I think so. We just started to watch, which is a mind thing, especially with what's going on. We've been working our way through the Westworld series. So we watched the first 2 seasons of Westworld, and we're on the 3rd season right now. And it is prescient about some of the stuff that's kind of going on, but I find it's hard work. I'm tired after watching it because it's making me think, and it does. And I'm not sure that it's the best series to watch because I'm not sure it calms the sense of disquiet. But the other thing we did is we've been watching through all of the Marvel superhero movies, which are fun and and I think we also watched Lord of the Rings. Yes, we did. We watched the whole Lord of the Rings series as well. So we did.
So we're learning about your tastes and what you watch too.
Yes. So Sherry says, my streaming habits have altered. A large portion of viewing has been spent watching YouTube videos, my training videos, but also doing online learning. I manage 11 courses. So brain power. So it sounds like somebody is pretty disciplined. It sounds like somebody's pretty disciplined. Ian just headed over to YouTube and subscribed. Thank you, Ian. We appreciate that. Cheryl says Disney Plus, which I imagine is a lot of those Marvel movies. Jackie never watches TV, and it sounds like your habits haven't changed as far as that. And like my TV broke, so I'm watching more videos and stuff online. Occasionally do watch TV online. Yeah, I have the iPad, and I do a lot of the consumption on the iPad now, where I'll watch TV shows or I'll watch YouTube videos. I really like watching it on the iPad Pro. The screen is so good. It's so good. Kenneth has watched a lot of YouTube on the Roku, and his wife is working on Midsummer Murders for the 3rd time. Oh my gosh, they never end. Who would ever go to a small town I would never go to those small towns in England. People just get killed in them. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Stephen, reading all of the old, Shane Novak, an old classmate of mine. I think he lives in Japan. He's been rereading all the old Vancouver College yearbooks, and now That's how desperately bored he is. Shane, how the heck are you doing? It's good to see him. I see him on Facebook occasionally. He's keeping well, I know, but that's funny. I didn't expect to see that. Didn't expect to see an old classmate of mine. There we go. Okay.
There was a great comment here. Steve Kidd asked how much of the views increase is because you're providing lots of content, and more importantly, because your output is very regular.
Yeah. I think a lot, as far as the YouTube growth goes, a large part of that is, I think a large part of the fact that we established really good site authority within YouTube for the kind of content that people started to look for. And we released a few videos very early on, especially on using Zoom. And it was a perfect storm that we were a trusted site that YouTube was comfortable sending traffic to. We had a video that was at the right time, the right temperature, and a couple of them took off. And then one video in particular that took off kind of dragged everything else along with it. And then, to be honest, we've always been fairly consistent with producing content, but we totally leaned into it. As soon as we saw the traffic take off like that, both April and Liz and I, all three of us, we buckled down and we increased our output of content. Much to our exhaustion over the first 6 weeks or so, but we did increase the number of videos that we produced. So we took advantage of it as well. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So let's see, what's this? I'm on a first name basis now with the CNN anchors. You know something? I watched a lot of the 24/7 news channels early on, as I was trying to come to terms with what was happening.
Yeah.
But now it increases my sense of disquiet too much, and I'm trying to weed myself from some of that stuff. But I will admit I probably spend too much time still worrying about things that are well beyond my control.
Well, and I feel like those type of news platforms have become more political now as the virus has gone on than anything. So you're not getting
Francesca says that she's still watching the late night comedians, late night talk shows. I got to tell you, as a former TV guy, I am so impressed with what the late night talk shows and how they've reacted to not going into studio, and how they have managed to keep their brands going and to keep their audiences engaged, primarily through YouTube. I haven't been watching them on TV to see what the late night talk shows are happening on TV, but I've been watching the highlights on YouTube, which is for a while. And I'm so impressed with how they've taken advantage. And when we talk about habits, these are the things that, we talk about personal habits on this show right now, but corporate habits, how they do things. I'm wondering how many of these different media properties are going to completely change their publishing, how much they spend on studio audiences, bringing them in live, all of that sort of stuff, as far as creating their content and recognizing whether or not there's as good an engagement with the community. When you see these hosts in their home environment and you get kind of to know them a little bit more intimately, which is something that we've always known on YouTube as YouTube content creators. But now that we see the network and the broadcast hosts going through the same process of giving us a little bit more intimate view of how they actually live, I'm wondering if that engagement becomes even more profound, and it will increase the relationship value between the personalities and their communities and their audiences. Yeah. So just a minute, Cheryl just agreed with the last statement. Great content is helpful for the situation we're in. I wonder if that was a post or something I said. All right. What size iPad Pro do I have? I've got the small one, the 11.5 inch. So I called this up because it's such a long one that okay. Like you, I've been very productive. I haven't taken on dream projects, learning the way I'd hoped. Yeah. I did get a few monkeys off my back, though. The illness of death squashed some enthusiasm. Inhaling less and less TV news. After a while, I couldn't handle all the midday media rallies. Yeah, it was a bit of late night comedy and news and comedy to close out the night, checking in with the COVID families. No binge watching, but more focused on work, since with fewer distractions. Yep, I think we're all finding different ways. But so which of these, it's good to hear what you guys are doing right now. But remember, the purpose of this is to say which of these habits are good. Which ones are you going to continue with, and which ones do you think you want to keep? Now, I don't particularly think of the first two of writing. I'd say that my habits during COVID of reading has been poorer, so it's not a habit that I want to maintain. My television viewing habits, I don't mind, I don't mind the binge watching with Shannon because it's time that we're spending together.
Sure.
And since we can't go out and do other things, it's, and I haven't binge watched on my own. Shan does. She'll binge watch on her own, but I won't binge watch on my own. Eric says, in addition to the late night guys, John Krasinski, what a breath of fresh air. For those of you who haven't yet found it, John Krasinski, formerly of The Office, and he has started to create just a little video series from his own home with his kids helping him out doing hand-drawn signs and just basically being the anti-bad news guy, just trying to go out there and find happy stories and good stories. And it has been a breath of fresh air. It's actually caused me to choke up a few times emotionally as he's gone out of his way to make people's lives a little bit happier. So yes, that is, I'd say that's a habit that should continue. And I wonder whether the opportunity will continue once we're done. And,
I think you're right. Our friend Eric on YouTube, on our YouTube live, he was saying he's really seeked out those kind of like the Holderness family fun things that were like positive instead of, and I think that's actually, for me, one thing I feel like this scenario has taught me is that there's so much negativity on TV that I'm choosing to not watch it. And that habit will continue for me.
And that's it. So your news and information consuming so that's the next habit that I'm wondering about. And for me, early on, it was becoming a bad habit, the amount of consumption that I was doing of news, and I would be always just checking, seeing what's happening, and that's a habit that I don't want to continue. I don't want to continue to follow it, and so it's one that I definitely say less is better as far as that's concerned.
I was waking up in the middle of the night watching it.
Were you doing that?
I was. Sleep was really a problem for me. I mean, it's better now, but yeah, I would wake up in the middle of the night and watch the news. Like I was definitely having a problem with it because I couldn't. It was scary, right? So I feel like that's where the and then obviously as things change,
that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're not sleeping and then you're watching news, you're getting more anxious, and it just becomes a cycle, a destructive cycle. Donald has the key. You were sharing pictures with me last night of your son fishing on your lake.
Yes.
April lives right near a lake, and she sent me a bunch of pictures of her son with some beautiful fish that he caught. Donald, I think you are the COVID winner at this point here. That's what I wish I was doing. I totally wish I was doing. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. It made me smile. And thank you for sharing me those pictures last night, April. They made me smile as well. So, Jerry. Oh, I thought you said fest. I misread it. My eyes misread it because I laughed. This is good. An 8-week negativity fast is awesome. I was laughing because I thought you were just diving deep into an 8-week negativity fest where everything negative, you were just going to take it all in, see if you can get it out of your system, and then let it go. But a fast is good. That's a neat idea. So I'm curious, Jerry, if you can let us know, have you been going through Facebook, or are you still on Facebook? Or I don't know if you're using it. Oh, you're watching us on Facebook, so obviously you're using Facebook. So are you then muting friends who are being super negative and being the kind of aggro type of stuff that we find a lot in social? Or how are you shielding yourself? I'd be curious to know. Let us know. That would be great. Keep our eye open for her response there.
Ian made a great point here. I'm not sure if you can see it. He was saying, I'm going to make the effort to ensure the news I'm reading is legitimate. So much stuff is being passed around that wasn't legit, which it was definitely a true story. Even with the social media news feeds everywhere, you're seeing, these are the COVID-19 symptoms. This is what to do. Put your head in a neti pot. That'll avoid the virus, like crazy stuff.
Yeah. It's is that Dave? Okay. Yeah. No, that's been a challenge for us all, is deciphering which news. And I probably don't need to go into too much detail here because it's so depressing, but the algorithm is our enemy as far as this is concerned, because the algorithm, as far as if we rely on Google or Facebook or anybody else to send us any news, unless we're going out proactively and choosing our news sources ourselves and choosing what to read, the algorithm is sending you, and they will send you what you want to read. Whether they're not concerned with truth, they're concerned with you getting what it is that you will consume. That's all that they're concerned with. So if you have if you tend to read one bias or left or right bias, you will get fed more and more left and right bias content until you're washed in that content. So finding the truth in this, well, is it possible? We may be in the post-truth era, but it's definitely a challenge. It's going to be a huge challenge. Francesca's been a news addict for years, but not the 24-hour cycles, more deep dives and analysis, no TV. Smart person. There you go. I like this one. Mike, trying to work on friendships. I walk every morning with 3 other men in my development. Good for my mental health. Yeah. I miss people. We here in BC, we get to what they're calling expand our bubble this coming weekend. And so we're allowed to have family over for the first time since the beginning. And to be able to kind of expand things a little bit. So we're having a family barbecue on Monday, which I am so looking forward to.
Nice.
Since my 94-year-old aunt died 23 days ago, I'm sorry to hear that. I started a family Facebook group, a 2022 reunion, including photos, deep into genealogy, deep new contacts, pricey online newspaper archive, less TV, DVD, DVR with fast forward. But that's great. So this is what I thought more people would do is projects, starting a genealogy project. That has to be so healthy. I'm sorry to hear about the loss of your aunt. But the diving into projects, that's something that I guess we've done it to a certain extent, April, because we work so hard on business things, but it would be nice to be doing projects that are of a personal development side as well.
Yes, that is true.
I dropped my TV news watching Dennis. Good for you by 98%. I find it depresses me to hear the same negative drumbeat. The news depressed me, not as much as my social media consumption, which I will be getting into in a moment. So let's go to the next. Are we ready to jump onto the next one?
We are.
Which is this one, which is what I talked about, social media consumption. So how has that changed?
That picture.
Sorry?
I like your picture.
I know it too.
Emoji.
It is. I like it's. So I obviously social media is increasingly important, but also increasingly dangerous now because of how negative so much of the commentary has become. So what's been your strategy for dealing with it, April?
I actually have snoozed people in my news feed, and I've also unliked pages, and I've also done where we're still friends, but I don't want to see the posts anymore because some of it I don't know. Like I said, we went from COVID and people, I think in the beginning, everybody was sharing, like somebody made the statement about it, lots of fake news and people were trying to do the right thing. So it was just more recently when, like I said, I feel like everything about COVID-19 is more political these days. So I definitely have been snoozing people.
Yeah.
But I also, and that being said, though, I've been able, some people are really having a hard time and they're using social media to express themselves. So, I've used it to check on people too and send inspirational little messages just to say, hey, how you doing? How's the kids? Send a funny picture or something.
That's good. So Jerry's got back to us on her negativity fast. Antonio Landerino is leading this. He's a sales author that I read and follow. He's on Facebook. Every week has a new exercise in daily interaction. Tuning off and recognizing your largest sources of negativity in news. Figure out how to deal with negative people, filling it with more positive leaders on YouTube, reading, etc. So thank you. That's good. So unfortunately, I don't think that everybody can drop links in, but they just do a search for Antonio Lanario. Antonio Lanario. They can take a look. I think that's a healthy thing. Having somebody coach me through how to strip negativity out of my life, I think that might be something that I'm going to take a look at. Thank you for that.
Exactly.
That's good. Oh, we have somebody else. Another positive high. Oh. I thought I clicked on another one. Yes, are we connected now on LinkedIn? Yes, we are. As I remember that. Excellent. Well, nice to see you. Rebecca doesn't do social media, and I won't. I think I'm much happier and more well-informed. Yeah.
People are only checking it once a day, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, I only check Facebook. I've dropped a couple of people. I really need to cut back on checking. You know, and it's for me. It's almost like a car accident that I'm having trouble turning away from, because I'm discovering more and more about so many people that I thought I knew, and I'm not necessarily liking.
Yes, that's a great way. That's a great way to describe it, because I very much feel the same.
I would say overall, my overall emotion for probably the majority of my social media consumption as far as Facebook is disappointment. And so I should probably just stop doing. But we've also been using it to great benefit. You know, I posted, we want to do a video next week. I want to do a video about how different types of teachers are using Zoom, are using live streaming in Zoom. So I posted on Facebook saying, what community teachers, music teachers, fitness instructors, yoga instructors, dance teachers, how are you guys using this technology, and how have you pivoted to serve your community? And I've got, and then I put a form together for them to fill me in on how they're doing things. So far, we've had 10 different instructors sharing the strategies that they're using and how they've learned how to do things better, or how to manage using streaming tools. And these are people who aren't our normal community. These are all my old Facebook friends from theater, or just people in the community who have learned to use the technology to teach community classes, music teachers, clarinet teachers, voice teachers, as I say, yoga. And wow, in that post has just lifted me up, because all these people are going to share with me. We're doing interviews, and we're going to create a great video out of it. So how do you balance this between all these people being total doofuses and disappointing the heck out of me with all of the negativity and fear mongering and buying into every. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, all the singing, like the singers have done some great singing Zoom calls. All these choirs, those have been great and to watch, that actually, and I love that, because you're connected in the theater community, you probably know a lot more people that are less known than I do, because I don't really have a lot of connections there, but watching those uplifting musical things has been great too.
Yes. Oh yeah. And that's, I mean, as far as media consumption, these specials that they've been doing, releasing Broadway musicals for free, like recordings of them on YouTube that we're seeing that are released for a period of time. That's been very, very cool. Yep. I like that. So Jerry's given us a bit of a background. She's an executive recruiter, so I talk all day and I'm on social media a lot. Yeah, I participate in some great Zoom calls with my target audience. Exactly. That has been, that to me, how online meetings have blossomed is obviously something that we're leaning into. But don't you find that doing virtual meetings is way more tiring than meeting in person? It's just it's because we're not getting our social cues, so we're constantly having to be focused, and we don't know when to relax, because you can tell in a room when it's okay to kind of settle in, where you can kind of go lower into a lower energy state versus a higher energy state. It requires a high energy state at all times to stay on in a live call.
Friday, you were exhausted. You had like 4 Zoom calls that required full attention of being facilitating and leading some of the conversations. So you were tired.
Yeah. I was like a drooling baboon at the end.
I was like, go take a nap.
You did actually go take a nap, Steve. There you go. Yeah. I thought Zoom fatigue. I think I could actually fall asleep on.
I think you could have too.
I think I actually have. I'm not too sure, but I actually have. Okay, so social media. Let's get into other things. Has your morning routine changed? Has personal? So we're kind of out of consumption now into kind of personal habits. So has your morning routine changed at all, April?
No. Well, no. I think in the beginning it did, because I didn't have Wyatt to get off to school. So I slept a little bit later, but now I'm back up to getting up early. Actually, it amazes me when someone in my house is up within, an hour after I've woken up, because their routines are they sleep late, and I'm up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I'm back to my routine.
Claudia is smart. All of my client meetings are on Zoom and it's exhausting. So she has started scheduling no more than 3 days. So she's recognizing her limitations rather than burning herself out. Smart lady. That's a good one. I like that. Yeah. Morning routine for me, it's exact same. Hasn't changed at all. Get up in the morning, make coffee, bring it up to Shannon, come down, start to work. It's
I think you work earlier, though. I think you're working earlier. You don't think so?
No. Maybe slightly earlier. Yeah, well, what'll happen is, whereas in the past, for me, it's subtle. It's just I would take Farley for a walk at a certain time every day, but now I wait until it jives with Shannon's schedule because Shannon is working. She's teaching, so she's downstairs. So there's that not having the house to myself is hard. As a person that works from home, not having my own space,
yes,
I'm finding I'm a little hard done by. I'm a little hard done by, if you ask me.
Well, I mean, Kevin and I work together, so we've always shared. But yes, I would agree. Having all the kids around all the time, just like there's no downtime of noise factor in my house whatsoever.
Faith's morning routine has changed, but her cats has not. So.
That's usually the case.
Ian has embraced a mindfulness practice in the morning. That's smart. 10 minutes of meditation can do wonders for your day. I've never had the discipline to do that. I'm jealous of people who do. So yeah, but I've never. So actually, I will make a change. My morning routine has changed because part of my morning, because I tend to be just black and white. My morning routine used to include 3 times a week or 4 times a week going to the gym.
Right.
And that got taken away. And that's the thing I miss the most of all of the things that we've lost in this. And I realize it's a small thing, but for me, the gym was a really important part because it was my socialization. It was a community of people that I really liked. And obviously the physical benefits are evident as well. But my gym has closed down. They're not coming back. And I am very sad about that. But that changed. And so my morning routine has changed. As now, for the first time, it doesn't include exercise. Now, we will get to exercise, and my exercise has continued. So don't worry that Steve isn't getting his workouts in. They have changed. But that is one that I would say that I will change back as soon as I can. As soon as I can start having a gym to go to again, that's something that I'm really looking forward to. I don't know how long that is or how far that is away. But that's something
very disciplined about that. Like you had set times that you went and like you didn't schedule anything during that time. Very rarely would you ever change that time.
Yeah, I didn't. That was locked off. That was me time. And so yeah, Shannon, you should bring those in here. I'm in a live stream. This was the results from yesterday. Yesterday, my wife is a teacher. You're going to be on live stream.
Hi.
Oh, geez. My wife's a teacher, and yesterday we did what's going on back there? Farley's popping balloons. There we go. Yesterday we did the teacher parade where we drove around and all of the kids waved, and oh my God, it was heartrending. All of the kids came out and
there were posters that parents had out that said, "Help, I had too many kids." Please come back.
That's awesome. Shannon, as a parent, I would probably have that and beg you and offer to pay you to take it.
It was great. But the thing that I was Shannon's designated driver. And so as she had her head through the sunroof and she's like waving at the kids like the princess of the parade. But as the little girls in grade 1 and 2 who are just so full of energy that they can't stand still, and they're jumping up and down, and their knees are going up and down, and they're spinning around as the teachers are going by.
I'm not even their teacher. I teach grade 6.
That's awesome.
They're just like, ah!
It was so cute. Anyways.
What was I going to share with you? One piece of information that you guys need to know going forward. If you have to stand in a parade with your head through a sunroof, you're going to get a bruise in the middle of your back. Okay. Just saying. Also, don't wear flesh toned colored clothes.
Okay. They didn't need to know that.
That's funny.
A little bit of oversharing. Okay, so that was. I just saw her going by with the balloons, and I thought it would make a great visual.
Yeah, that was great. And how special is that? That's wonderful.
Yeah, they've been doing that all through BC. I think many communities are doing it. It's not unique, but the schools actually schedule it. They get a parade route. The fire department, a fire truck comes in and leads us all around, and
Yep.
a police convoy, a police escort goes at the tail end of it. So it's kind of made for safety and stuff. The parents are all informed of the parade route before, and they all come and they kind of set up in chairs, and they had their signs and they had their balloons, and it was great. We drove around. It took like 35 minutes or 40 minutes to drive the route. Started at the school and made a loop of the community and came back. Everybody's honking their horns, and people are coming out of their houses as well that aren't even, in the school, and waving at the teachers and thanking them. And so the kids miss them. The kids really miss them. And and what was interesting was afterwards, it just goes to show you how much the social distancing affects. The teachers in the parking lot, just they hung around for like 2 hours afterwards. They were just talking, they just kind of needed to see each other and to kind of have that sense of community again. It's an interesting. It was nice. It was nice. I thought it was going to be a pain in the ass. I was going, I got to drive around the parade route, but it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
They're figuring out my son's graduation, and they're talking about doing some kind of town parade where they're going to celebrate the graduating seniors of high school, and so that'll be interesting how that whole graduation thing comes to be. That's
right.
So Donald had a question. Speaking of kids, do you think we will see another population explosion in 9 months?
I imagine that. I don't know. See, this is different because I'm not sure couples are really liking each other more now.
That could be true.
So that's going to be a good question. I guess we will see. All right. So next, we've only got 15 minutes before we're done, and I've got 5 more habits to talk about. Time shifting. This is the one that I have. I have time shifted where I work in different times. Back in the day, before COVID, I probably wouldn't work. I wouldn't go and watch TV with Shan and then come back and do a few more hours worth of work, but I'm doing that now. I'm trying to shift. So in the middle of the day now is when I'm doing my exercise and doing a few things and cooking and doing some other things, which I've always done, but it was more compressed. Now it's a little bit more leisurely, and I'm taking longer breaks in the middle of the day and shifting some of that work into the evening. Are you doing any of that?
I would agree. Yeah, absolutely. There's times where I'm like, oh, well, I don't need to do this right now. I can go do something else and I'll come back to it.
Yeah,
because there's that lingering time of being home. There's nothing to look forward to after.
Well, and here's the thing is I'm going to go through the other habits kind of one after another because they all relate to each other. So along with time shifting comes this one, which is how do you turn off, which is a challenge for a lot of us is finding a time to turn off, because the danger with this is of not being away from your work is the fact that it can always be there. So you can always turn to it. So when you're bored, you can go do some work, which is not healthy. Then there's family time, which can be positive or negative. But we're all seeing a big increase in family time. April knows exactly what I'm talking about. We're all seeing a big increase in family time and finding within that time for yourself. What habits are working there? The one that I know that I like, I think most people are really benefiting from is this one, which is cooking and mealtime. I don't sense that you guys are doing this, but I love what I'm reading. That's one of the things that I am liking seeing online, April, is how many people are now discovering that they can cook for themselves and sharing recipes. Bread baking is becoming like the new thing, right?
Yes. Have you tried it? I haven't tried it.
Yeah. Shannon, okay. In comments, how many of you are baking bread, and how many of you have started your own sourdough starters? We did the sourdough starter. So Shannon, I shouldn't say we, Shannon did. So she got the culture going. She's been feeding it. And did you know that it's a thing to name your sourdough starter? Like everybody has names for their sourdough.
I haven't ventured down that road. I've seen everybody making them and hoping they'll drop me off a loaf, but no.
Yeah, well, it is. It's yeah, my Bitmoji has been working out too. Yeah, my Bitmoji is very trim. I like how my Bitmoji looks. Yeah, so that's the thing so yeah, baking bread. So Shannon and Sophie have baked sourdough twice. First one like a pancake. It was about this thick, and we're eating it, going, fresh baked bread. This is so good. And I'm saying it in my head. I'm saying it, it's coming out of my mouth because I want to be supportive and loving of my family. But my brain is saying, this really is not the best bread you've ever. It's kind of dense. It's kind of super dense. In fact, it's like but it tasted like sourdough. So yeah, and we put a lot of butter on it. So consequently,
extra butter to really drive the carbs and the cholesterol home.
Cardboard with butter on it would taste good. Let's face it. So the first sourdough pass was kind of not so great, but the second time they did it, they kind of followed the rules more closely, and it was delicious. It plumped up nice, and when it came out, it had that crisp top. Where you're crunching through it and eating it. That was yummy, delicious. So I know you're wondering. You want to know what the name of my sourdough starter is. If you've got a sourdough starter that you've named, tell me the name in chat, and I will tell you the name of ours. Are you ready for it? It's a good Canadian name, and it suits. Now, sourdough, sourdough starter, it bubbles. If it's healthy and it's working right, it's creating oxygen in it or some sort of gas, and it bubbles. So we named ours Michael Bubbly, like Michael Bublé. Get it?
Michael Bublé.
Yeah, like Michael Bublé, who lives near us. Michael Bubbly. You like that one?
Funny.
Has anybody shared their net? Oh,
No,
Faith is saying that she makes banana bread.
Their sourdough.
Sorry?
I haven't seen a name come up yet. Let's see.
Nobody else is naming their sourdough starter? Maybe it's just me.
It very well could be.
Yeah, downtime with the husband at the patio, just talking over the day, playing with the dog. Those are all good things. Absolutely.
Cookie.
Who Angels and Thunderbirds on TikTok. Okay, so nobody did the sourdough starter. I'm surprised, but I would have thought that. Greg, you have to follow the recipe exactly when baking. Yeah, that's the thing. As I'm not a baker. I'm a cook. I cook almost every meal, but my Italian grandmother taught me to cook, and so I look at recipes and then I just kind of do it, and I don't really measure when I cook. Do you measure? Are you a measurer?
I'm a half-ass measurer. Certain things I will measure well, and some things I just put it together. So
but I'm intrigued by here's why I'm intrigued by baking is Sophie, Shannon's daughter, has been making cookies, and she makes oatmeal cookies, and they're fine. But Sophie likes those thick, chewy, half-cooked in the middle oatmeal cookies, and I think those are an abomination. I like the super thin ones that get really thin and are almost oily because they're so thin, but then they're really crisp around the edges, but kind of chewy in the center, not in the middle, but in the center. And so we're having a battle constantly. She makes oatmeal cookies when she's here, and then I look at them and they're like little fat little things. And it's not the thing. So I am thinking I have to learn how to cook because I want to make cookies my way that I like.
Yeah. And so the other thing too is when you ask me if I was a measurer, I am a terrible baker in part because it's so precise with certain things. Like I definitely have been known to mess up a recipe and everyone's exactly that. What you were saying about your sourdough. Oh, this tastes great. And they're feeding it to the dog under the table.
So boy, we've spawned our own argument. Some are saying baking is an art. Some are saying baking is a science. But you do have to measure. It's not like cooking. You're absolutely right, Jerry. That's probably why I'm not. I'm wondering if anybody's going to share recipes with me. Dan likes fat cookies. Are you a fat cookie or are you a fat cookie or thin cookie person?
Say that again?
Do you like fat, thick cookies or do you like thin cookies?
I like crunchy cookies. Crunchy. Yeah.
Thin.
Yeah, thin.
That'll be well cooked.
But I do like cookie dough raw. So those are usually fat when I
So Chef Dennis is on with us. Starter name starting with Chef Dodds. Chef DDS. There it is. So Chef Dennis was one of our community members. Obviously, we should have chatted with him. He must be loving the opportunity to do the cooking, but still no sourdough starters.
No, somebody let's see. Somebody said they made one and they had not named it.
Yeah, that was Jerry. But okay, well that's cool. Now I think you guys should work on it. You guys should work on it. Oh, that's disgusting. The whole thing is people that eat cookie dough. Oh. I cannot understand that.
Why?
Shannon loves cookie dough ice cream. I just don't get that. Don't get that.
So after all these, so you kind of went through your list here of things. What is the one habit?
Last one. I do have
Oh.
one last one.
You have one more.
Go ahead, and then you can wrap up. I like how you're bringing us to a close. Exercise. What are you doing for exercise? That's the one. That's the one that's worried me the most as we headed into this. And so you've been pretty good. You've been working hard at it.
Yeah, I've been spinning like 4 to 5 times a week.
Yeah. So you've been actually exercising more than you were pre.
No, I was
trying, but I think
I've been consistent since October.
Yeah. So that's the thing that I've lost the most. And when I had to go to a class, I had the discipline to go in the morning. In my imagination, as I said, this is my coping strategy for COVID. I thought I'm going to exercise every morning, first thing in the morning, but I don't want to. I just can't get myself into that. When I had to go to a class, it was easy. I just went. But when I do it on myself, not so easy. So, but what I do is I've developed a new habit, which I think I will keep until the gym's open, because I think that's going to be a long time, is when I hit mid-afternoon, like 2 in the afternoon, I hit the wall and I need a nap. It's ridiculous. I like reach a mental saturation point, but instead of going for a nap, I go and work out then. And I don't feel like it.
Are you taking an online class? Like, how are you working out? Are you self-doing it?
My workout is a terrible workout. Well, it's not a terrible workout. I need something simple that I can do that's mindless and I don't have to set up for. So I can just go and do. So believe it or not, I'm back to doing burpees.
Oh, okay.
I do 150 burpees.
Wow.
That's my workout right now.
That's the only thing that I would say is that, so, I mean, I was already in this membership before COVID. It's called Sweat On Demand Studio, and they're a gym in San Diego, but they have the virtual, and there's their Facebook group. I mean, it's increased significantly during this time, but that keeps me going because they have challenges like right now they're doing a bingo challenge. So you fill bingo cards and they raffle prizes. It's not like you guaranteed a prize, but it's motivating, right? And so then starting next week, they have Hell Week and they're challenging you to do 2 classes a day for a week. So there, I think when you try to work out at home, because I know I saw some people that are struggling, you have to find something to keep you accountable. Like I definitely need accountability to something, even though I'm a little fish in a very big sea right now there, but I feel like I'm looking at these people. I'm like, I can do that. I want to try that.
I love maybe the comment of the week. My wife got me doing yoga, not sold on it. But Eric has hit the point. The difference, this is the challenge for habits. Going to a class, you have the accountability of having registered and having your spot, and you have kind of almost the social pressure of showing up, especially if it's a regular class that you go to. The accountability gets lost when you're doing it yourself. So finding a way to be accountable. And in the morning, I don't have the discipline, but by the time the afternoon is hit, my whatever side of your brain that's more responsible has kicked in. I'm an adult by the afternoon. Morning, I'm still kind of whining. I need my coffee. But by the afternoon, kind of my own personal sense of responsibility is kicked in. So I'm able to make it the habit of working out in the afternoon. And I think I will continue that until there's an option.
Classes though, right? Because that's a perfect example, like you going every day and having an appointment on the calendar set to go meet the group that you had at the gym.
Yeah. Yeah. Burpees. Good for you. There's a backstory to that. My gym needed a new, it was a startup gym a couple of years ago, and they didn't have a defibrillator. And I told the owner, I said, let's raise money for a defibrillator, because I thought I was the most likely person to need one. And so we ended up doing her idea of a fundraiser was me doing 1,000 burpees, and which I think she was just doing to be mean to me. But it was a challenge accepted. So I actually did 1,000 to raise the money for the burpees. And now the burpees are in her home. I mean, the defibrillator is in her home, which if her husband ever has a cardiac situation, it's great, but it's not going to do me any good there. So Claudia is saying, do a habits checklist. We should create a habits checklist. Let's see. So April was going to ask us to summarize. So of all of the habits that you've established during that you've started to create as a result of the lockdown, which one do you want to carry forward into the post-lockdown phase? Something as far as reading, media consumption, taking the negativity out of your life, Is it exercise? Is it family time? Is it cooking? What's the one that you want to do more of? I know, curious. What do you think? Which one do you want?
I'm going to say less media consumption. Less media consumption, like the news and stuff, because it's just not a good, like, I just feel like it's not. And it gives me high anxiety, and it gives my kids high anxiety when it's on and they hear it.
Yep. Eric says meals with the family at the table. I think that that's one of the things that a lot of families are going to recognize, that that's going to be something that their kids, when we're finished with this, are going to say, remember when we used to? And I think that should be a goal of everybody, not to have their kids say, remember when we used to have meals together. That's a big one. I think that's one of the, well, as I was going through the list of things, I thought that would be one of the biggest ones. I definitely thought that would be one of the biggest ones. Rebecca, cooking at home almost all the time now. Yeah. It's we're getting back to it. Less news and negativity, Jerry. I think that's a super, super, super healthy one.
How about less Zoom? How about less Zoom?
Bad. Sorry?
Less online meetings.
Tom, less driving.
Yes. That is true. That's made a huge difference. We've talked about getting rid of one of our cars. Now, we went from not enough cars for our family because of the kids driving or whatever, and now we have too many. And we're thinking about getting rid of one.
Yeah. The battery in my car has been dead for 3 weeks. I haven't charged it. Yeah. I like this one. Working in the yard work and reading. Spending time at home with your family. Reading for sure, Fernando. Good stuff. It's opened my mind to many new ideas. Getting back to reading. I'm glad that you're able to do that. I'm hoping that's one that I would like to. That's, of all of the ones that I'm not doing, that's the one I want to do.
So what's the one thing you miss, though, of all the things that you're? So do you have a thing that you miss the most? So you going to the gym would be yours.
Yeah. I just, I take Farley for a walk every day right by it, and it makes me sad every time I walk by it.
I miss going into the grocery store, like normal.
And that's become a new point of anxiety for me. Yeah. Just because,
Well, you might get yelled at for taking all the meat.
Sure. Faith can't get her cat to sit up straight at the table. Yeah, cats be like that. So Francesca says it's not a happy choice, but it looks like doing a lot of less travel. Yeah, it's gonna easy air travel. That's definitely. Oh, that's what she misses the most is easy air travel. Yeah, that's gone. Mike says calling his friends more frequently is a good one. That's a good habit.
Mary, yes, miss hugging. Yes, true.
Yeah, we're gonna do some of that this weekend. I think back at home. Maintaining communication with the family, as the family and kids are all over the world, keeping that habit of everybody getting on a Zoom call. A lot of people have made that a traditional call, a Zoom call with their family or an online call. Shannon has done that with her siblings and her parents. Yeah, I like that.
I have Wine Wednesday with my girlfriends.
Yeah. Oh, Rebecca misses making music with others in person. Yeah. I mean, the theater community, all of the performers, it's gonna be a long time before we're back in a rehearsal hall together. That's something that we definitely miss. Now everybody's getting sad. I wanted you to tell me with the positive ones. I said, remember what I said at the beginning?
I'm sorry. That was my fault.
The negative.
Shame on me.
I said, let's what habits are we going to take out of this and be positive? For me, what did I say it was?
Exercise.
No, that's what I'm
I'm sorry. You said, I forget. I'm sorry.
I think I still want to make habits better, but cooking more of the time. Yep. Yeah, and I still like that. Yeah. They used to drink Bloody Marys at the.
I know. I want to come to your grocery store.
Isn't a strange place? I miss choir rehearsals. Okay, no more negatives. I'm not going to put up anybody else with a negative. There we go. Virtual happy hour. That's a good one. I thought now, Claudia, is that one of your 3 calls? I suspect not.
No, that's the end of the day call daily after all those calls.
Family dinners, reading, that's good.
Dennis is doing Zoom rehearsals.
Yeah, I've heard of people doing that. Yeah, that's indeed. Okay, let's wrap it up.
Less grocery trips. That's a great one to keep in the habit of, right? You spend less money too. Less grocery trips.
Yeah, I used to like that because I didn't, Yeah. Yep. For that for sure. No. Yes, we're gonna wrap it up. Sorry, that's it. It's an
Thanks,
hour.
guys.
We've done. Folks, thanks so much. Have a great weekend. It's a long weekend here in BC, and we get next time you see me, I will have seen members of my family for the first time in several months. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that's amazing.
I hope you found this a little bit distracting. Maybe you got a few ideas from it, caused a few smiles, and that was kind of the purpose today. April, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you guys all next week for more Gray Matters Unscripted. Till then, I'm Steve Dotto. You have fun storming a castle.
Have a great weekend.